The recent killing of the CEO of United Health in New York City has exemplified conversations about the role of privatization in the healthcare industry. Now, I want to discuss one thing that I think we're missing. Of course, issues within the healthcare industry have led to fatalities, but what about pre-hospital? So in Tennessee, the city of Knoxville hosts its emergency service program or ambulance service through AMR, a private company which responds and follows up on 911 calls made for emergency services. AMR is fined $266 every minute they are late, according to this Knoxville News article. And it continues that in the month of October, AMR was fined for 224 late arrivals for life-threatening calls, as quote. And it accounted for $127,000 in fines. 72 late arrivals were also for non-life-threatening calls. Unfortunately, one of these incidents was a male who had found himself fallen, injured his head. This story continues that Knoxville paramedics, through the fire department, responded on scene with an SUV. While caring for the patient for over 20 minutes, they decided to transport them into their SUV to an emergency facility because AMR's ambulance was not able to arrive in time. Why? So, I understand the nature of this is very complicated. From low wages for EMS personnel, the trauma sustained by these workers over time, and the exfiltration of the workforce, the influx of new trainees who are undertrained, new EMTs who are undertrained who also leave the workforce. These problems are grand and vast, and they can't be oversimplified. But I think something under-discussed is non-compete agreements. The inability for private entities within a certain city or area to actively help each other because they are competing for-profit entities. Let me show you. Let me demonstrate this to you. So let me elaborate first. Imagine this. You are a high school student. You have seen the shows. Your parents, your grandparents, someone was a 911 provider. You want to live up to that. You want to become an EMT. You enjoy and you believe that this is going to be the appropriate career for you. What do? Now, you can sign up through the traditional route. You can go through a technical school, a community college. You can go to one of these providers to get that EMT certification and begin working on an ambulance. But private EMS providers, in order to make up for the shortage they are experiencing, have now started to offer their own courses, usually accelerated and resulting in an EMT certification. They're offering these, paying students as they're in class. It makes sense, reasonably, economically, for someone out of high school to do this if they're pursuing this career. They do this, but unfortunately in these contracts that you have to agree to certain contracts and stipulations. One of those is you work for the company for 2 years. Unfortunately, in many of these contracts from different EMS providers who may operate within the same jurisdiction, who do different services, one may hold a 911 contract, they will silo those EMTs by putting in a non-compete agreement because, of course, they paid for the EMT class, right? They invested in you. You should work for them to protect their interests and their profit. So in that, these siloed EMTs have become less fluid and available to 911 providers. Of course, the 911 providers are doing the same thing, but with wages so low and the complexity of the job and such, people are leaving and re-entering the workforce. Okay, so in that, we're getting siloed EMTs who are not fluid and changing or altering to careers and making it a limited pool already who's unable to draw from to increase that workforce, right? So not only is the 911 service trying to get its own EMTs, so are these other for-profit agencies who may be doing different services, non-emergency transport, interfacility, things of that nature, right? Also, those non-911 services are not as likely to be called upon when the 911 service needs them. Why? Because it's simple. It's a competing agency. It's a competing interest. And contacting that agency makes your department look bad it benefits the other, and it may put them in an upper hand when competing for 911 contracts later down the line. So that's financial profit for the company. It makes it hard for everyone to work together. And in such a case, response time is slow. People are put at greater risk. Patients die. So in that, I just want people to think about the other avenues that for-profit healthcare can impact you. That's all for now. Signing off.